good. Podcast. Hey, dude.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
You got a Wolverine shirt on today?
Yep. It's going to
Nice.
be my undershirt today.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got a lot of comic book shirts.
I do. I have a comic book and like rock and roll t-shirts. That's about all. I've narrowed it down. And a couple ministry t-shirts.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. My kids still wear that one that you came up with like a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah. That's a good shirt.
It is a good shirt.
We're about to do another printing of those.
It has a Paul Frank feel.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, like he uses the monkey thing. Hey, B.
Why? I don't know why this happens every single time.
I know. I get it. She's mosey on in.
Ready.
Mosey on in.
Every time she turns it on before she puts the headphones in.
Well, there's a lot of steps.
There are a lot.
I
have to like put the
but
little camera
it's weird.
on.
It's weird that the
headphones last step.
Yeah, that's the weird part to me that I haven't totally connected yet.
You know Kobe Bryant's youngest daughter's name Bianca?
Really?
Yeah. I heard it's after you.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, congratulations, man. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
Bianca has naming rights over Kobe's youngest daughter.
Yeah.
I actually do know of one person that named their daughter. Because they'd met me before, I guess. I don't know. I was a kid. Kind of weird.
Yeah. Good story.
We won't talk about that.
Strange. Sorry if my camera goes out. I actually ordered a new one. It's just not here yet.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And headphones.
No way.
Yeah, but they're kind of like these. They're not going to be great. I want some of these.
Some cans?
Yeah.
Some of the old school ones. I'm kind of surprised Jason doesn't have like old school.
Yeah.
Like
I know. Are those new?
Those are sharp, Jason.
These are the ones that remember I won them from Third Man Records.
Oh
yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I want to win some headphones.
Yeah. That was crazy. It still blows my mind. It's just irony to the core.
And from this like record place that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
not even just that you want them. You like love
and I went with
that place.
And I went with a deaf man. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Oh, we remember.
Oh, that came up a couple of times.
Because I didn't get it.
That is right. Oh,
I was like, what's the point? Your friend won a big deal.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, man. All right. You guys ready to roll today?
We are. I'm ready.
B, do you actually have 5 things? We gave you 2 weeks.
Gosh, it was tough, but I do. Let me write this down right here. Okay, what's the order of things?
We settled on one, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
first.
Gonna be that.
I introduce it, and then Jason goes first, and then Bianca goes next, and then I go last.
Wait, Jason goes first, Bianca goes next. I go last. Okay. I've got such a good television show, guys. You're gonna love it if you haven't already seen it.
Oh boy. Really? I'm excited about this.
It's a Netflix.
I'm still excited about this.
Yeah.
Unless we have the same one. That would be the only downside.
It might be.
But
we'll never know.
Or we'll know in like 25 minutes.
Yeah. We'll know in maybe 10.
Yeah, I think it's my first one. We'll know right away. Oh man. All right, you guys ready to rock?
Mm-hmm.
We are.
Deep breath. Get settled. Focus. Clear the mechanism. That coffee mug is enormous. All right. Welcome, everyone, to This Week in Gratitude. We are glad you are with us. My name is Greg. I'm in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm joined by Jason Griffiths in Los Angeles, California, and Bianca Quezada in Seattle, Washington. And we get together every week, and we just have conversations about things we're thankful for, things that we're grateful for that God's given us in the last week. It ranges from all sorts of things, from Bible churchy stuff to the least Bible churchy stuff you can imagine. And we look forward to talking to each other every week. And so we decided a long time ago, well, let's record these. And so we've been doing that, and we put them up online, which is where you guys are hearing them now. If you enjoy them, please subscribe and send them around to your friends. Tell people about it. It would be more fun for us if more people listen. And we love it when we get feedback from you guys about all kinds of different things. So that's probably enough of that. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. I'd say strong and very strong.
Nice.
Good to very good.
All right. Well, I'm not going to top either of those things. So the way this works is really simple. We're
limping in. We're limping in.
5 things over the last week, or in this case, 2 weeks that have been happening that we're excited about, that we're interested in, or whatever. And then we get together and we just kind of go around in order and share them, and then we get a chance to see where that takes us from there. So, Jason, you get to go first, as per usual.
Absolutely, and I'll start with I went hiking. Which is a rare occurrence. You know, it's kind of like seeing a Bigfoot in the wild, or like a unicorn or something. But I've been discipling this young man at Long Beach Rescue Mission, and he's crossed the 5-month mark, which means he can ask for day passes. And since I'm a pastor, they say, sure, you can take him off the grounds. And so it's been escalating like week after, because I've been meeting with them every week and on Wednesdays, and then it's just been escalating. Man, I just feel like I want to get out of here. Man, I just really want to feel like I can get out of here. And then what is going on here?
Bianca's camera. For those of you, this is not a visual medium, so you guys are not seeing what we're seeing. But Bianca's camera is about to totally die. Which is brand new to us. It hasn't come up in the last 2 months. It's come up every single time for the last 2 months. Bianca has ordered a new camera. We are taking care of it. But it is incredibly difficult to talk and see it happening at the same time without getting distracted by it. Jason in his ADD.
It's strobe light time. I don't know if I had Tourette's or
lost track of what he was talking about.
Yeah, anyway, Josh and I hiked up, and we hiked up Eaton Canyon, which is just we found out it's like a 15-20 minute hike. And so then we're like, yeah, we can't do that. That can't be it. So we just started hiking up Mount Wilson Fire Road, which is Eaton Canyon's just like off of that. And it was just cool to get up and see a view of LA. And actually, because we've had Santa Ana winds coming, and which blows the smog away. And so it was actually clear, and we could see Catalina even from the top of from how high we got, which was really pretty. But it was just good to get outside. It was good to bless this brother that I'm walking through life with. And I probably, it's the old thing, like I always get out more than I put in, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, this is not like a new habit you're going to pick up or anything like that. Nothing crazy, right? It was just a one-time. That's a one-off.
That's a one-off. Well, okay, actually, I think I've already told you the story. Have I told the story of how I started to hike this hill? That's right. Yeah.
I'm starting to get nervous, man. You're exercising all the time. What's going on?
I take long jumps backwards, because then I feel like, hey, man, I've hiked. I can eat the whole cake,
Yeah, no, that's good.
Like what's one or two pies, like
what's a couple of pies amongst friends, I guess.
Yeah. So hiking in the Angeles Crest Forest, I think, is what the title is of that Mount Wilson thing. And like per usual, I talked to my dad, and he's like, you weren't on a bike. You didn't get up it.
Oh, God.
Every time I'm like, yeah. Anyway.
As we're like all impressed with your awesome feet.
Yeah. I love it. Anywho.
I'm so impressed.
So hiking with Josh on Friday.
That's awesome, man.
That's cool. I don't think mine will ever be a hike. Sorry, guys.
No need to apologize. I'm right there with you, B.
I like going on walks. It's the elevation part
I'm pretty shocked we ever had a hike on this podcast as
first time.
Almost always I had to hike somewhere because my car broke down or something. And that's almost never something you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Gaffigan has a wicked good bit on hiking. And how Northwesterners dress like a hike might break out at any moment.
Man, is that true? Man, is that true?
Yeah.
That's funny. Gosh. Okay, I can go with my next one. It's a TV show. So I was sitting in front of my TV for this one. Nothing like a hike.
Nothing like
It's 10 episodes of this show called Maniac on Netflix. And you might have seen some of the trailers for it. It has Jonah Hill and Emma Stone in it. And it looks crazy because it is crazy, but it's super worth the watch. And it's only 10 episodes. I already say that. So I pretty much watched it in 2 different sittings. Okay, actually 3 sittings. And I don't even know how to describe it. It's like this future past world, future past technology. They have this machine that can go into your brain and help you be a better person or whatnot. But the premise of the show is that something goes wrong. And so it's a show. I think it's a show about like getting to know yourself, like your past and how it reflects who you are in the present. It's a lot about family. It's funny. It's weird. It's I think it's written and directed by the guy who did the first season of True Detective, amongst other things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's a cool world to inhabit as well. It's like they have this technology that we don't, but it looks like 80s technology. And it looks worn, kind of like Star Wars. But I think it's like in the 80s. Anyway, it's interesting. I think one I read somewhere, they were like, well, if this guy was born in the 70s, that means it's like now times, but it's definitely not now times. And yeah, I just recommend it. I mean, I'm warning you already. It's odd. So if you don't already like kind of odd things and keeping track of
we like Jason, so. Oh boy.
Zing!
I'm gonna sit out for a second. I earned a little bit of a break on that one.
It's called Maniac.
I need a bit of a break on that one.
I actually recommend this one.
Nice. This is full Bianca recommendation. How about that?
Awesome.
This is a rarity. This is a rare thing.
Yeah.
This almost never happens. I started putting that in our description of the specific pods that Bianca may or may not recommend a specific show.
That's true.
Because it happens a lot. All right, Maniac. I'd seen previews for it and they were hyping it like crazy.
Yeah.
And it looked like super nutso, and that's why I haven't watched it yet. But
yeah.
And it is super nutso, but it's good.
But it's good. Yeah. And actually I hate to say it, but it benefits from binging it because they harken back to other episodes, and if you have not seen them in days, you won't really pick up on the parallels. But
is it weird?
But maybe once a day or something would probably be the most time you'd want to put in between.
I haven't got into like skinny Jonah Hill yet. That throws me off.
A little strange, and I'll just tell you right now, he speaks very oddly too, and that threw me off. I thought I'd get used to it, but even by episode 10, I'm like, oh my gosh, guy, like speak faster. Like quiet, like it's nothing like what you're used to seeing him as. So it's cool that he can do that.
Yeah.
He's also like, I don't even know anyone like this, like in the world. Like, who are you doing right now? Like,
right.
Anyway, so it is a little bit distracting, but like I'm trying to convey the storyline itself is totally worth it.
Nice.
Yeah, and Emma Stone just like kills it. She's
like always super good, right?
So good in this, and they play different characters too, so they're not.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oops, I might have given away too much. No.
Oh boy.
No.
Oh boy. Oh, here we go. I don't even want one.
No, you did. Okay, that's it. That's my first one.
Nice. All right, my first one is also on Netflix, but it is not the one you recommended. This falls under the you should watch this if you're the type of person who likes this kind of thing, which it makes sense in a second. The new Adam Sandler special is amazing.
Oh,
like it's fantastic. I felt like I was in high school again watching it. Like it's I don't know. If you're somebody who's like
good to hear.
Yeah, if you're somebody who's like, I don't know why people like Adam Sandler, you should watch this because it's like you still might not like him, but you will understand better because it's not a movie. It's just him doing stand up and like stupid songs and like all the stuff that kind of made him famous. Except that he's like our age or older and talking about life now.
Yeah.
Goofy and silly and ridiculous. And like, I really, really laughed out loud at a bunch of spots in this. And it's got a bunch of swear words and it's super inappropriate in some other ways. But if you're somebody who likes Adam Sandler stuff at all, or if you like early Adam Sandler stuff, you will love this. I think you will anyway. I haven't read any reviews on it or anything yet, but I know like when I watched it, I was like, oh man, it was like a time machine.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna watch that. Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore are
it's in that vein way more so than any of his newer stuff.
And his comedy stands up. I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
Before. My son, he didn't really it didn't really connect with Dumb and Dumber and like all these other like some things that I thought he'd get blown away by. Yeah. But Sandler ones that he really like. Happy Gilmore is one of his favorite films, I think.
Oh, that's so sweet.
This is way more in that vein. It's really quick. It's like the first time I've seen you'll be a better judge of this probably, but it's the first time I've seen a comedy special shot this way. It's like I think he shot the entire special probably 20 times. And like so everything is like really quick and constantly changing locations and places
and clothes.
So you get the sense of like, oh, this was his like national tour. And you get some of like the local stuff he does in some spots, and then like you have this huge, but then there's like all this like really intimate spots too, and it's like it's just a really cool. The whole thing looks cool and sounds cool, and it's like he does some really really funny stuff, and like just a lot of it. One of the things I realized watching it this time, like I guess being older and watching it or whatever, is like. There's a lot of darkness in his comedy that I never picked up on when I was younger. Like it's like the stuff in this one, at least it's all like ridiculous, nonsensical stuff for the most part. Like he has a song called Phone, Wallet, Keys. And like he's just talking about like all he has to take from his house is his phone, wallet, and keys. So his life is awesome. Like phone, wallet, keys. And then he gets to the airport and he's trying to fly to the West Indies and realizes he needs a passport. And like, oh crap! Passport, phone, wallet, keys, passport. Phone, it just like starts going through this, but then all of a sudden, like the next, like it just builds, and you realize like he's just carrying around all this stuff, and his only goal in the whole song is to get back to his house with just his phone, so he can sit on his toilet and watch his phone. It's so funny and so true, but then so sad. Like there's like the sadness in his stuff that I don't know, for me really resonates in certain ways. It's like, oh man, I think you guys are gonna love this one. I cannot recommend it high enough. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So
that reminds me, I also watched the Flight of the Conchords special.
So good, right?
Good. Yeah, it was very good.
Their mashup in that, I've had this song running through my, this will come up later probably, but I've had their song Hurt Feelings running through my head for like a week and a half, and it's so perfect. And what they mash it up with, Tears of a Rapper, and like, oh man.
Yeah.
I was dying.
They're very good at what they do.
Yes. Well, this is even sillier than that, and it's like peak Adam Sandler to me. Like this is like Adam Sandler just off of Saturday Night Live, kind of just crazy sketches, weird voices for no reason. It's a blast.
Yeah.
Cool. Like how PG-13?
Oh no, it's R for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you should definitely like
watch it with Zeke.
You should watch it once. You should watch it once and know some spots to avoid with Zeke.
I'll tie my next one in with that. It's loosely. Let's give each other grace here. Prophets of Beige. How did I miss them? I think they came out in 2016 or 2017. Ooh. It's not really new.
Prophets of Age.
Prophets of Rage. It's Rage Against the Machine with Cypress Hill and the dude from
I thought you told us about these guys before.
No, I haven't heard of them.
Where did I hear about them? I've heard about these guys.
And I think that it's loosely connected because I like them for the same reason I'm probably going to like this Adam Sandler thing is they're older. They're like us. But in certain ways, when they're probably terrible live, but they perfected their craft. Yeah. You know, like I just thought of there's a band in Orange County called Prayer Chain, and they played for like 15, 20 years, and then he took like an 8-year break, and then they had this reunion show, and I remember going to that reunion show, and they just picked up their instruments and they just knew it. They just because they had played it together so long, and they had been apart for a while, but it was like riding a bicycle. They just picked up and they just blew open the doors and just blew the roof off the house, all the metaphors.
Even the ones that aren't actually.
Yeah.
The house just imploded.
Shout out to Tim Satterfield at this moment. You know the rest.
When in Rome.
When in Rome. You know the rest. Okay. But Prophets of Rage, it's ridiculous. It's just a solid album. And I found them through Amazon Prime because they're on Amazon Prime, the music stuff, whatever. And so then I borrowed the disc from the library, and it's in my CD player, and it's not coming out for a while. It's just a really good Rage Against the Machine disc.
So this, you turned me on to something here. You reminded me of something that I didn't talk about. Well, we didn't talk last week, and so I had this. Trying to remember exactly how I get to the point of this, but it's connected to what you said, and then it reminded me of kind of the Adam Sandler thing. There's a weird in college students and young people largely. Bianca, you could speak if this is untrue. There's like this positive thing, which is there's like a ridiculous amount of sort of hope and optimism, which generally is positive. But the flip side of that positivity is like there's no sense of history at all. Like I was one of the reasons I'm curious about the Adam Sandler thing and the Rage thing is like those guys like remember the 80s and 90s. Like when I talk to college students, it's almost like the 21st century didn't happen at all. Right. Like from all kinds of ranging things from like politics and violence and like, it's just like, you just see these like repetitions over and over again. And you just like, as somebody who's a little older and has paid attention once in a while, you're like, man, like, how do you not know that hope just ends up in bankruptcy, right? Like, how do you not know that there's nothing sustaining that at all? Like you've not paid attention to any history up until now. Like, but I think that's probably the claim that all old people have all the time.
That's what I was going to say.
So, yeah. So that's probably fair, but it really is like, it struck me recently. Like I've seen it a bunch in like random spots where it's like, man, we need people who used to rage against the machine to still rage against this machine, but they haven't for a long time, right? And they've lost that edge.
Yeah,
maybe I just want grunge music to come back. B. Maybe that's all.
Amen. The first thing that popped into my head, and I think you were there, B, was we were in a staff meeting at First Press San Antonio, and Pastor George Sturgis, remember that guy?
Mm-hmm. White hair.
Yeah, and I remember him because it was discussion about like getting rid of pews, or it was something about it was something pretty big at First Press, and I remember George speaking up and saying, "I think we're in danger of denigrating the past." And it silenced the room for a second, and everybody just, we gotta wait, we gotta, I don't know, I think it's always, I think like B and you just said, I think it's always what the old people say, but I think it's maybe heightening because everything else is speeding up so quickly. I don't know.
Well, the other part of it is I think it's not just young people. Like there's people my age that all of a sudden are like super hopeful about, I don't know, Supreme Court nominations or whatever. And or like Senate elections in Texas is a big thing. It's like, what is wrong with you guys? Like we've been here like every time. This happens every 2 years. How have you not caught that this is ridiculous? That it's like just this cycle of nothingness that you just keep getting excited about every 2 or 4 years. But then I love an Adam Sandler special on Netflix, so I might not be the best guy to rail against. But anyway, sorry, your Rage Against the Machine thing brought it up, and I just like, it's like, man, where are those voices? Where?
I think that's interesting because John Oliver, a couple like weeks ago or months ago, I don't remember when, but I remember it was right around the Me Too movement, and then he went and interviewed
Anita Hill.
Did you see that episode? That was a really good episode.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed all these people saying these things at these award shows currently, and then he flashed back to when that happened, like 10 years ago, or when the 80s. I don't remember when that was, but and then it was exactly the same people, just different, same words, different actors at the award show. Like, this is the year the women are gonna come back. This is the year the women are gonna get equal pay. It was depressing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We're paying attention. That's the whole point. Like that's the whole point.
To that, like what defines a crazy person or a madman is some person who does the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And unless we do something different, it's not going to change.
That's right.
Anyhow.
Unless we start hiking or something.
Yeah. Hiking with a donut. Next time I'm gonna put in my hand, just to make a statement.
There you go.
I won't eat. No, I'll eat it. Okay, go. Somebody else.
I already forgot what order we're in. Is it my turn?
I think it's your turn, B.
For Jason. Okay, I'll stick with the media stuff. And I saw the movie A Star Is Born with Lady.
That's on my list, B.
Bradley Cooper.
What? You guys both have the same one?
Yeah. If you're going after me, then you can tell me you're.
Yeah, perfect.
I really liked it. I really like Lady Gaga. I'm a few months, I forget how long ago it was, I watched the documentary on her 5'2", about her. Well, it's about her life, but it was focusing on her Super Bowl performance. And so I already really liked her, and she was so good in this movie. And I know people are really into the songs because they're originals and they're good, and she's singing them, which is a great part of the movie. But I really liked it. It was sadder than I thought it was going to be. And I am recommending A Star Is Born in case you haven't heard from other people to go watch this movie. Right. Everyone's saying it, but I'll jump into that too. I think it was good.
I will second that. This was on my list of top 5 or my 5 best. Also, Abby and I got to go see it last Friday as part of our like date day thing, and so we went and saw it, and it was I think we were both. I was surprised at it on a certain level. Like I knew about it a little bit, and I knew kind of the hype around it. And I don't mind Bradley Cooper, and I don't care one way or the other for Lady Gaga. Really, like I just have no real opinions of her other than like. When I've seen her do like SNL, she's been good, but I don't listen to any of her stuff outside of there. And so like, I don't know. I had almost no expectations for this movie at all. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Way more than I thought I would. And I like it when a movie like deals with a really obvious thing right away. The example from this movie is, Sam Elliott is in this movie, Jason, and he plays Bradley Cooper's older brother, like much older brother. But Bradley Cooper is clearly doing a Sam Elliott impression. Like it's obviously a Sam Elliott impression. And so, like the first time you see Sam Elliott, he says, "Well, you stole my voice," and I was like, "Oh, they mentioned it. Okay, good," because it was driving me bonkers until Sam Elliott showed up and confronted it. It was like I love it when a movie does that when you're like set up for it and then it pays off immediately. It was like
that's awesome.
That has nothing really to do with the movie at all, other than I just love that they did that. Like it was one of my favorite. And like it's also crazy how hard Bradley Cooper worked to get that movie to get made. And I always respect that when it's like when somebody does that and then it gets made and they make a ton of money at it and people love it.
Why did it take so long to get made?
Well, it's a remake, and I think the Lady Gaga role was the part they could not figure out.
Oh.
And so they went through like a bunch of different people, and then he ended up producing it himself with like all of his own money and couldn't get a studio for a while. And then I think people just assumed Bradley Cooper as a country singer was a bad idea. Because on the surface, it sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. My mom told me that he followed around Eddie Vedder and was kind of doing an Eddie Vedder impression.
Yeah. Yeah, and he played like a bunch of festivals and stuff, I guess. And then one of the guys in his band is Willie Nelson's kid.
Really?
So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Huh, I wish I
had that. Because Willie Nelson's kid is a really good like country rock kind of guy too. He just I can't remember his name, but he's really good.
Nelson in The Promise.
Yeah. And so he like Bradley Cooper kind of like picked his brain and then like brought him on board and then put him in the movie and everything. So, but it's super good, Jason. You would love it. The musical stuff of it. I think I think Malia would like it.
Well, we'll see it in 6 or 8 months. So how long does it take to go to rental? Like
It's gonna be a while.
It's a waiting game. We just saw Ant-Man versus.
That was pretty good, right?
It was really good.
Yeah, that one was fun.
Manifest. That's my next one.
Oh, here we go.
I was wondering about that one.
Here we go.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of like a poorly done Lost or something. Like it seems like less like has gone into production and acting and stuff. But
well, you got me hooked already. I'm in.
I like the storyline's even better than Lost. I think it's interesting. It's a really it's a cool show. Do you want me to tell you anything about it? Have you already seen it?
I know about it. I haven't watched it.
It's just there's 2 flights going from Jamaica, I think, to New York. Yeah, it's Jamaica to New York because and the main characters are a brother and sister, and the brother has a son that's fighting cancer, and they take off. They take a second flight because they've overbooked, and they say, "Oh, we'll give you $400 to stay," and they stay behind, and then the plane takes off and lands 5 years later.
Yeah,
and so everybody's moved on, because they've assumed everybody's dead, and the brother has a wife, and that son who's fighting cancer has a twin sister who's now 15. He's 10 and she's 15. And so there's just I like and there's just storytelling behind what the heck happened to the flight. And so there's FBI stuff going on there. And then there's also like people on the flight have inclinations. Some hear voices, some kind of have visions. Mm-hmm. And it's just a lot of just the overarching storyline is really intriguing. It's good.
It looked like a good storyline. It was one of those I've been waiting for a few people to recommend it before I jump in on it, because it also looks like it could be canceled after like 4 episodes. So
I think it's gonna hang in. I'm hoping.
You think so? All right.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Just watch it. I even watched the first 2 are worth it. I don't know how many we're in. They haven't let me down.
All right.
Yeah, I'm curious. I really liked Lost. Speaking of younger people who maybe don't know about past things, I was telling the 2 interns about Lost, and I was so surprised at how much I remembered from it. Such a terrible memory, and I was like, and then this happens, and then this happens, and you can just watch it. And I was like, really, like, I should just rewatch Lost. Anyway, that's something that they're doing, by the way. Middle schoolers and high schoolers, they are going and watching every episode of Lost and Friends. And so I think they are aware of the 90s and 2000s and things.
Yeah, but they're aware of the 90s the way we're aware of like the 70s.
Yeah, but it sounded like your argument was more of like they were unaware of any of that stuff.
Yeah, that is kind of my argument. But
but they are a little.
I mean, like politically, or like, I mean, it's let me say it a different way. It's amazing to me that we've been in war since the time these guys were born, and they still think that the world is basically a good place. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't figure that distinction out. Or that the people who have us at war all the time are magically going to get us peaceful. I don't know. Yeah. There's a different set of arguments.
Man, that's so bleak.
There we go. Now you know. All right.
There we go, me.
Okay, well, it doesn't really blend in, but I'll go in that when the season starts to turn in Seattle, which is literally from one day to the next, so it's already turned into this fall kind of winter, gray skies, orange trees kind of thing. I get this feeling to just kind of focus on death for a little while. And last year I was watching the Leftover series. I mentioned it in this podcast, and because it's kind of a topic I like to avoid for the rest of the year. So I take this little chunk of time to just consider it. So, and some of it is I can't control, in that some of my friends' parents are passing away, and it's just on the mind a lot. And so recently, what did I do? Oh, I was reading that book about how other cultures do funerals. I mentioned on
Oh
the
yeah.
podcast, and I read C.S. Lewis's A Grief Observed, which is a lot shorter than I thought it was, so I was done with that pretty quickly. It was very good. And then right now, which is in my list, is this book that I read portions of in seminary called The Undertaking. When we were on Cycles of Life, this is a book that we read for the death portion, and it was just a few chapters, but I loved it so much. I've always wanted to read the whole book, and so now I'm doing it, and I love all the chapters we didn't read. I'm like, why didn't we read these? These are so good. So it's essentially this funeral home director. It's nonfiction. I mean, this is actually his life, and he's a funeral director, but he's also a poet, even though this is just all chapters and this isn't poetry. But it's just about his thoughts on like the way we do funerals, death in general. He's Christian, so he's always bringing in imagery of that. It's a lot of storytelling, so it's like a lot of like his life and then the lives of the people that he's buried. He's a funeral director in a small town, and anyway, I'm really thankful for this book because I thought I liked it, and it was a few years ago that I had to read it for class, a long time ago, actually, now that but I was right, and it's just the perfect book to read in this kind of season of, just for a little bit, I'm going to think about this and immerse myself in this, especially as a pastor. You don't really get to pick and choose a lot of the times, but I need to do my due diligence in the meantime. And so anyway, I do actually recommend this book. I wish I could remember. Oh, Thomas Lynch. His name is Thomas Lynch, and it's called The Undertaking. And anyway, it's a book I really enjoy.
Nice.
That's awesome. And I like that you're going through this. And I love going back after seminary. I think I read more than I've ever read.
Yeah.
It's just because I don't know, I get more time and stuff like that. And I love like remembering things I liked or was intrigued by, picking them back up and finding out they're just gold.
Yeah.
And I picked that book up, that From Here to Eternity.
Oh yeah.
From the library. I'm going to look at it this weekend. I borrowed it from the library just to look at it.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
And I'll take a look at this one too. It's you and me are the same. I like it. October's my time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Did you, Jason? I had you pick up "Surprised by God."
Yeah.
So
I got one chapter into it and I loved it.
Nice. Well, there's as you get further into it, like chapter 7 or 8 is all about the death of Christ, like in taking Christ's death into ourselves. It's pretty. It reminded me of what you were describing. So anyway,
I'm gonna read that one too. Maybe that'll be part of my season book.
Yeah, it's not like all about death by any means, but that there is a chapter that's pretty spectacular on rethinking when Christ tells you to take up your cross and follow him, like what he means by that.
Yeah,
it starts strong too, just talking about fear.
There's no. That's
why I was gonna kind of just skim through it. I had the same.
It's not a skimmable book.
Yeah,
there's no fluff. There really isn't. Like it's just.
I was gonna try and even read it at a fast pace, like Greg, but I can't even handle it.
Me either. I couldn't read that one fast. Can I recommend the Harry Potter series to you? I think if you.
I just read it.
It take you too long.
All right. My next one. Wait. Yeah, that was yours. Okay. Yeah. My next one is. It's just a funny like social media thing that's going around. But if you haven't seen it yet, Chance the Rapper as an undercover Lyft driver is continuing our podcast love affair with Chance the Rapper. It's just really funny, and it's he's just driving people around Chicago to raise money for Chicago Public Schools in his program, and he just dresses up like not himself, and so it's like 10 minutes long or something, maybe less than that, but it's really funny. They're pretty funny. It just made me happy. What was that?
YouTube?
Yeah, I think so. I think I might have watched it on like rollingstone.com. I can't remember, but if you just Google Chance the Rapper undercover Lyft driver, there's like a whole thing that comes up. But it's fun to watch him interact with people. And there's this really like poignant moment at the end where there's this older lady who like doesn't believe that it's him, and then finally believes that it's him. and like she gives him this hug, and she just thanks him for all the work he's doing with the kids. And it's just this really cool moment of like, oh man, all right.
It was worth
it. I didn't cry. I don't want the record to get this wrong, but I did think I could see why someone would cry at that.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Looking like a human.
Yeah. If I were human, this is a spot I might cry at. That's what I'd say. If I had these things called emotions, this would be a spot that would feel emotional. It was awesome though. It was fun. It's just a fun, like, just quick pull up thing, whatever. It's nothing that's gonna like totally change your world, but it is cool. I think it's fun to see somebody doing really good work and being embraced by his community that way. I was just like, all right, that's fun. Like,
he's a good egg.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I'd say my third one is.
It should be your fourth one, Jason.
Really? No, it's the fourth one. Yeah. Fourth one.
Good. I just want to make sure we're on that.
Right? Okay, yeah. I have enough X's right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Fourth one. Joe Fury he's a pastor of a place called His Place, and I'm working with recently incarcerated people in drug rehab programs, homeless shelters, that kind of thing, and I often feel, man, I can't believe God has put me in the middle of this, and at the same time, I feel kind of overconfident and undertrained. And then actually we couldn't podcast last week because I had to be at a Teen Challenge graduation. Teen Challenge is a drug recovery program. It's a year program, and they're inducted, which is they go through 3 months of basically like Jesus boot camp, and then they have a graduation service at their induction, and then they move on for the next 9 months out to like a different location with a bunch of induction centers. So they get them all together. It's a really successful I think it's the most successful drug recovery program in history. Anyway, and Joe Fury was the speaker, and just seeing somebody do what I've been called to do really well, it's humbling in the right ways and empowering in the right ways. You know, like just seeing him he's so relevant. He's so personal, and it was just it drew me. You know, like we're like ministers, so it's hard to minister to us. You know, because we end up getting into gauge mode and like, yeah, he's better than me at this and worse than me at this. You know, like he got me out of that, and he just preached to everyone in the room well. And I was just like, man, it was humbling in the fact that, you know, like it's good to remember I'm JV, you know, I'm a good JV player. And just to see varsity it's a good reminder. Yeah, I got growth areas like crazy, but it's also empowering in seeing I have similar stories like that, and I tell similar stories like that. He does it better, and but I can get there. I can get to this piece of it anyway. So it was a really pivotal, like worship service, I guess is what a graduation worship service. So Joe Fury,
nice,
pastor of His Place in Huntington Beach.
You're always like the words of encouragement guy, and I like never do that. So, but nonetheless, I will say this time. So if you want to mark this down on your calendar, I do love that you're constantly looking for that and being challenged by things around you. And I do think it makes you much better pastor because of the way that you sort of absorb those challenges as opportunities. And so anyway, that's something I've always admired about the way you roll as a pastor.
Thanks, man. And this is this week in gratitude. So we're grateful.
We're grateful for that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Grateful for Jason. I had a question about this Joe guy. What is he like famous? Does he like write or just someone who was a speaker and you are encouraged by?
Pastor. He's just a pastor to the least and the lost. Like he's legit. Like 30 years ago, he was like a beer truck driver, and then he found he came to Jesus, and it's been a long process. And his sermon and his message was mainly to these people graduating, and just that be men of your word. You said you'd do this, stick by it. You're going to have complaining to God, but realize that God handpicked these men that are right to your right and left to work through your mess with, and stick to it. And then he pointed out the fact that Paul met Jesus and then didn't start writing until 14 years later. It's a long haul. It's just one step in front of the other, and he's well versed in the big book. It's just make today just like yesterday, and make tomorrow just like today. It works if you work it. Like all that stuff.
He's got an awesome name.
Yeah,
Joe Fury.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I'll go to my next one, which is we are hoping to do I don't know, it's not do disabilities ministry, but incorporate disabilities ministry and the youth ministry and throughout the church. And so this weekend or last weekend I've been attending this week. It was Tuesday and Wednesday. I had been attending some conference classes from it, just from experts about not just students, but adults also who are autistic or physically disabled, and that the church should be welcoming, but it's actually the least welcoming place for them. And that the stat is that 85% of families with a disabled member just don't come to church. They tried, and then the message is you're not welcome here. And so this has been on my mind for like over a year, trying to get this off the ground and getting volunteers to take it. We have a lot of teachers in our congregation. Anyway, I'm not worried. I think it will be really great once we implement it. But this conference was really eye-opening, and I got some good tips and good ways of changing up the program a little, or at least, inviting parents into what goes on in our youth ministry, things like that. But the one takeaway, I mean, there are a lot of takeaways, but the one that I just keep coming back to because it's funny is she said, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and then she had this list on the board of like, okay, what are some of your strengths from this list? What are some of your weaknesses? And one of them was understanding time. And it never occurred to me that some people, they're not disabled, just people in general, like, able-bodied, not able-bodied, they just don't have an understanding of like what 5 minutes is. Like, it was so eye-opening to me because to me, I'm really good at that. And like, if any time of the day, if you said, what time do you think it is? I'm usually like 1 or 2 minutes off. I'm pretty good at that, but it just never occurred to me like the people I'm really frustrated with when they're just like, oh man, dragging their feet, or like, come on, don't you know how long it takes to drive to this place and don't we want to be on time? Like, it just occurred to me that some people that's not their strength. They don't have an understanding of time. So anyway, she said amazing things throughout the week, but that one was like, oh, I need to remember that one for just people, the general population.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm thankful for people who are experts in this and people who are walking alongside people like me who are just now considering how maybe unwelcoming our spaces are, and all that good stuff. Next round.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that one. I will confess to having zero tolerance for people who don't understand how time works. That's the one, like, I can't figure it out. Like I know, like, I get like, how time works and you just refuse to live by it. Like, I guess there are people
think it is.
Yeah, there are people like that. And like, I just miscalculated how long it would take, but like I don't get it at all is a strange one to me.
Yes. There are people like that.
I know, it's crazy. That's crazy. This is unrelated to USB. Except that I thought about you a lot this last 2 weeks because every time I was bothered by something, I just thought that's a hill I'd die on. And then I eventually came to a point where like not only are there hills I would die on, but there are hills I would kill on. There are like that was my takeaway from it. Of like, yeah, I would die on this hill, and then I was like, I finally found where like, nope, I will kill on this hill. Like this is one I will absolutely fight back and defend myself on. I have a family in my house. They're my family, but they are still a family that puts empty boxes back in the cupboard and empty containers back in the fridge. And I don't like it's the most infuriating thing in the world. I can't like it's the worst. It's the absolute worst. And that's a hill I'd be willing to kill on. Like I'm gonna have to have some conversation. It's getting worse. I feel like I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just getting crankier. But
yeah, that's a good one.
So anyway, that was one. I meant to bring that up earlier. I forgot. That was not related to your 5 best.
No, that's okay.
Sorry about that.
You're up.
All right. One of the things that we get to do, and I think we take for granted sometimes, so I just put it down because when I was looking back over my last week, I had like a whole series of, I had just some really good conversations in the last week or week and a half. And I think sometimes when people think about being a pastor, or they think about our ministry, if they ever think about our ministry, they usually assume it's like stuff you do in front of people, or maybe it's leading Bible studies or whatever. And those things are awesome. Like, and I love that stuff. But I just had a week where that stuff was okay. But the like one-on-one conversations or one-on-two conversations that I had throughout the week were just like, were really life-giving and being able to speak wisdom into people's lives and to be able to hear wisdom from other people in your life and like have good conversations and hard and all the different kinds of conversations we have. And I think, I don't know, for me in ministry, that's usually a highlight, but it's usually like a mid-level highlight that I don't really think about or give credit to. But this week, I just had a couple of them where I had a conversation with a college student, Paul, last week, Wednesday, and it carried me for like 3 days because I was so excited about like, just like the way he was able to interact with some of the stuff we were talking about and some of the themes and like some of the stuff he pushed me on and then some of the stuff he let me push him on. And it was just, I don't know, every once in a while that sort of shines brighter than some of the other things that we really love about our job. And so anyway, that's one of the things I'm grateful for is those conversations people let us have. I don't know why, but they do let us have. So I'm thankful for those.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So your thing you're grateful for is conversations?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. It's like a Russian. Sometimes you remind me of like a Russian novel character. You know, like, I don't know. Yeah, like that's somebody like who would rather think than eat. You know, like I don't know. Like a good conversation is, I don't know. That's something Dmitri would say in Brothers Karamazov. You know, like I was really grateful for this conversation, and it carried me through this week. I don't know. You consistently surprise me. You consistently surprise me with your pessimism and your outlook on life and the depth. Like,
all right.
How can somebody who loves wings so much be so deep?
How can somebody who hates meatloaf? All right, I'm with you though. I'm chili. Sorry, me.
I know I can't handle that.
This is like perfect chili season for you now. This is
the best.
My hill to die on. Okay, Laguna Press is my third one, fifth one, whatever.
My sense of numbers is my first one.
I woke up with the upside down Roman numerals. Laguna Press is because there's a plus. Now I minister during the week, and I can go to church with my family on the weekends. And we've been consistently going to this Mariners South County, which is a big mega church with a band that's just out of control. Like you should have to pay money for them. Like there's such a good worship band. It's crazy. But now we've just said, hey, let's just look at some of our friends and let's look at some of the churches that are around us that, you know, are smaller, that kind of thing. So we went to Laguna Press, and you remember I have a buddy from high school. His name's Luis Garcia. He was the bassist of a band called Plank Eye, and he actually wrote a song about his daughter. Kind of. You remember that song Bicycle? I don't know if you know any Plank Eye songs, but there's a song called Bicycle, and the main premise of the song is you can worship God anywhere, anytime. And he talks about his wife is pregnant, and her car breaks down, so he puts a helmet on because it's the law here in California, and he gets on his bike, and he's biking to help his wife in this broken down car, pregnant with their first child, Abigail. And it's a cool song just because he's going over in his mind on the bike ride, like he got married too young, that all his family was saying, you guys, you're not thinking this through, you're not making wise decisions, you're having, because they had kids really early, like right out of high school. And it ends with like you can worship him anywhere, anyway. Abigail is now the youth pastor of Laguna Press, and it's so cool. So we went to Laguna Presbyterian Church downtown Laguna, and the worship service was like McGrath back in Michigan. It was just smaller, more to the, I don't know. I like small churches. And then my son went to Abigail's youth group, and it's kind of the same thing we're grateful for every once in a while. Just how God works in the people that are in our lives and that we minister with and to. And it was crazy to see, because being grateful for Abigail being a youth pastor, also just kind of figured I'm around my buddy Steve Atkins all the time, another friend that had kids young, and we're high school buddies, and his kids now teach my kids stuff. And it's just, so I think that maybe it's people that have kids young because God calls them to, and how that gives back in abundance, because I held Abigail as a baby, and I was like 19, 20. I'm holding this baby, and I'm like, man, that's beautiful. Like that was my first like new life other than in my family that I saw. Man, that's gorgeous. That's just amazing. And then just her leading my son in a youth group, and just cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about this sometimes a lot, right? Like the God's faithfulness over time.
Yeah.
And like how we keep being surprised at it and amazed by it at different points. But it's pretty amazing. That's an awesome one, Jason. I love that one.
And she reminds me of you, B. Like she's a powerful woman of God that clings to God's word and loves people. Like and she's talented just like you are, and it was cool. And Greg, you had kids young.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a nod to both of you. Like I don't know, it's a thing that's been triggered since Sunday is it's so much better to be grateful. Like it's so much. It's like it's been rattling around in my brain since I've been here. All the complaining I've been doing to God has been just wasted moments. I don't know. Like it's not wasted totally. Like you learn through lament and that kind of jazz. And but it's a no duh concept. But why miss stuff when you could just be grateful and be experiencing life? Like
the other way's better, Jason. Just be
bah humbug.
Okay, my last one is kind of similar. It could be in the same route, but I did my first baptism as an ordained minister on Sunday. Yeah, and it was a third grader. Yeah, thank you. It was not a student I know, but I was so thankful that I got this family. I was trying not to make it all about me, so this is all internal. I wasn't like, this is my first baptism. I'm so glad you guys are the family. They're like, who cares? This is about us. So I did focus on them, but internally, you guys are my friends, so you have to hear me.
That's what friendship means.
I know. So I was a little nervous, and we had a guest preacher, and so I didn't really. But I told him like I'm a little nervous, and he was very like helpful and putting the focus back on where it needed to be. And so I was thankful for him. I would say the actual like ceremony was pretty stilted because I just wanted to do it right and like stand in the right places and stuff like that. And so the actual baptism was pretty short. I mean, it was probably like 4 minutes. But then this family, they had like 3 pews worth of people that came into Seattle to like support her. And then they had this big party where we normally have dinner after the service, and they had taken up all these tables and had cake and just were like passing around cake to everybody. And they had brought presents for her. And it was like, I was just so thankful to have gotten this family because they were so welcoming and hospitable. And it really was like a whole, like, not just the nuclear family at the service, but it was their aunts and uncles and people coming in from out of town. And it was just really cool to be a part of. And it was my first baptism. So I'll always remember this one. And pretty soon that little girl is going to be in the youth ministry. And so, so anyway, I was very thankful all around, thankful, like selfishly, but also, we also have a sister in our congregational family as well, which was a great accomplishment in ceremony. But also I'm just thankful for being able to be a part of it. And, so that was this Sunday.
That's neat.
Super cool.
Yeah. It was good.
So Presbyterians though, you guys baptize babies, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So how often do you do baptisms that are not for babies?
They're usually babies. Yeah, I'm not sure what was behind this family's decision to wait until this girl was in 3rd grade, but it was clearly her decision because I was asking her about it. I wasn't the one that prepped them, but I was asking her about it before the service, and she said, well, my older brother was baptized when he was in 3rd grade, and I want to be just like him. And I was like, oh, this is so adorable. This is so cute. So she definitely thought about it. It was definitely her decision. So I think that was the method that that family was using for,
when were you guys baptized?
I was baptized Catholic, so I was baptized as a very little, tiny baby. Yeah.
I was baptized in my teens at a community church, basically a Bible church in Massachusetts.
I was right before 3rd grade. Right before 3rd grade also.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm always the theology of baptism is such a strange, like, black hole kind of like to go down because it's weird, and there's so much stuff that we need to confess to each other about in it, like over our time, like over our sort of history as the church or whatever. I don't know, like it's just one of those like there's so much bad things we've done to each other in the name of baptism that's just
so bizarre because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, but
that's the thing.
A terrible fight.
It's been so divisive, almost more than anything else. I think like the Eucharist, there's debates on that, and like I feel like people have had fights and split churches over that too. But like the baptism, we've killed each other over.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hopeful though that's turning a corner because that's such a beautiful thing. That's the part that's like, oh man, it's just got this crazy history and then like I think also like on the ground, I don't think most church members have any idea what's going on with it.
Yeah,
like I feel like it's something we know we do it's something we know that's important, and it's somehow connected to like church and kingdom life. But I don't think like in terms of like a practical doctrine of baptism or something, I don't think anybody has any idea what's happening in baptism.
Yeah, I think nowadays, at least here, it's because that's just what your family does.
Yeah, it's right. And it's like it's just this weird. It's this weird thing. It's because it's been this like monumentally important thing that we'll kill over at certain points in our history, and now it feels like it's just kind of like a traditional throwback thing that may or may not have any actual meaning. It's like it's just weird. I don't know. It's just strange. But that's all. I'm super pumped that you finally got to do one.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Congratulations. That's really neat.
That's really cool. All right, my last one is I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I've been teaching in Job, and then I'm working through a series in the book of Job. And so one of my practices is that whatever I'm preaching on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, I do Bible study with a collection of different old folks on Mondays. And so I keep that practice pretty consistent, except for the first time ever, the old people yelled at me on Monday, like last Monday, that I'm going through Job too fast. So they want to slow down in Job. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, like this, like, how in the world? So, and I knew I was going fast because I'm trying to do Job in 4 weeks to match up with some lectionary stuff. And so I was like, all right, fine, we'll slow down. So then I slowed down a little bit, and they yelled at me again for going too fast. I'm like, all right, we're going to have to sit with Job for a long time with you guys. I can't. So, but it's one of the things, it's, there's something really cool. And like, I think both your guys' stories hit on this too, but the kind of the intergeneration, what's generationality? I don't know what it is. The
generationalness.
Yeah, the collected intergenerations in the body of Christ that allow us to hear and see things from different spots and times. And my students working through Job have no problem with the pace we're going, and they're like, let's get through Job. Let's get to the next one. But the old people I'm going through Job with are like, let's slow down and listen, because there's way more to this like suffering and disaster and pain stuff in their life that they know of, that they want to speak to and listen for. And it's like, I don't know, it's humbling, but it's also this like, oh, it's just amazing to have these different sort of groups in different places reading the same passages and hearing the same things and hearing different things and speaking up about what God's doing and what he's up to. And so anyway, that one for me this week was one. It was fun to finally be told to slow down in Bible study, because I'm almost always told to speed up. So it was a fun switch. But
That's awesome.
That Monday group has been great with Job. So
that's good that you're able to listen too. I think that's good. It's a really pastoral quality.
I get that a lot. I'm a good listener. Nah,
I'm a good.
yeah. Jason and I are not the greatest listeners. That's dorky.
But on this, I think we are. I think like, this minute,
this one little sliver of listening. When it's about us, we listen.
Yeah, when it's about God's word and like what we can learn from old people, on it. I think that's our niche market of listening.
Yeah, that's right. It's the one spot we listen. Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you for sharing your best with me.
Yeah.
Thanks for what I'm grateful for.
Thank you.
All right. And if you listen to this and you enjoy it, like we said, please drop us a line. Tell us what's up. I'm at Outpostings on Twitter. Jason is not really Jason's at Jason Griffiths or Jay Griffiths. Don't try to get a hold of Jason as much as possible. But you can also get the whole show at Week in Gratitude on Twitter.
That's right. Yes.
And I know I'm Greg Richards 77 on Instagram, if that's easier for you for some reason. I can never keep track of your guys' Instagram stuff. So
yeah,
it's okay.
But if you have things you want to chime in on or share about, just get in touch with us. And if you enjoyed it all, please send it around to some friends and let other people know about it. We're trying to cross over the 4,000 listens threshold, which we're really close to. So if you do that, there's no prizes or anything, but we'll still be excited that you did it. That's all I got. It's good to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye.